Okay.
Okay. All right. So we are live, and I'm gonna go ahead and get you set up because I got a deuce out. You already know.
Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately. All right. So let me go ahead and make you the host. Make the host. Okay, cool. And I think that we're set to go. So we're talking about three different states of mind today, right?
Yes, we're talking about the three different states of mind for Wellness Wednesday. Um,
All right, I'm a lock out. I'm gonna go ahead and log out, and I will catch this on the replay.
okay. All right. Well, we're here. I'm here. So we are talking about the three different states of mind within mindfulness. Okay. Mindfulness. I know last week we talked about, we're talking about the DBT, the different types of skills that are used in DBT. Last week we talked about emotional regulation. So this week we want to touch on mindfulness because mindfulness is literally one of the like it's like the foundation of DBT, right? And DBT is really it's I think it's a real good one of the best interventions that is used in therapy and a lot of the things that we do. I feel like a lot of people don't really actually put the name to to the things that we do when we're trying to regulate our emotions or when we're trying to figure out like how to rationalize or how to figure out like how to just regulate ourselves. So we have DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, and so then we talk about mindfulness, like I said, which is a skill. It's the core. It's like the core of DBT. So mindfulness is how we address our issues. It's the core of knowing who you are, knowing where you're going in life, and trying to make sure that you control what goes on in your mind. And mindfulness really is trying to encourage you to live in the moment and be present and focus on what's going on around you, what's going on at that present moment, right? And a lot of people don't do that because we're so dysregulated when we're upset, when when things don't go our way, when things don't go right, we get so dysregulated. We are unable to just, focus on mindfulness. We're unable to like focus on what's going on at that present time. We don't know how to just regulate those emotions at that time. So we're going to break down three different, the primary different states of mind. And the goal is how to have wise mind. That's one of the primary states of mind. You really want to have wise mind. So there's three different states of mind. There's emotion mind, there's rational mind, and then there's wise mind. Okay. So we're going to break them down just so that we understand like what happens when we are in these different states of mind. Okay. So when you are in emotion mind, right, that's when your thoughts are really being controlled by your emotions. And trust me, when we talked about like the emotional regulation, I feel like that fits into this type of mind, that emotional mind, because when we're dysregulated, this is exactly what's happening. Is like our thoughts are being controlled by our emotions. Like it's hard for us to have like logical thinking and planning. Like we have like those distorted thoughts, and our thoughts and behaviors might it's hot. The energy is hot, the feelings are intense. We have a lot of those intense thoughts, and those crazy thoughts where we're just kind of like it's escalated. It's really hard to focus. It's really hard to just hone down on like how to calm down, right? And so let's think about situations that were like that, like where our emotion mind is just like going crazy because of these type of situations. Like think about when you're in a disagreement with someone, right? This is where you're in emotion mind. Like you're not thinking about like, okay, like let me calm down, let me focus on what is being said to me. You're automatically just like, I'm mad. These are your thoughts. I'm mad. I'm angry. Like this person said this to me. I'm ready to just wild out. Okay. So you're impulsive. Okay. You're impulsive. Like that's literally what's happening. You're snapping at people. You know what I mean? Like you go to the grocery store, your car not working, they keep declining. The cashier trying to help you, and they're struggling, and now you snapping at them because they don't know how to. They're trying to help you, and they don't know how to help you either. You know, this even happens in situations where I know we talk about people who like struggle with like the bipolar disorder, and they may be like impulsive during this time too, where they take those impulsive trips and they spend money like out of nowhere. You're purchasing things that you can't afford, or you just like swipe and swipe, swipe. So and this is what emotion mind is. Okay, so think about like those times that you're angry. Think about those times when you're impulsive, those things where you're just acting off of just thoughts, not emotions. Okay, you're just acting off of thought. You're letting your thoughts control you, not your emotions. Even though like your emotions are, this is the emotion mind, you're just going off of thoughts. Like think about the simple fact that like when you're in a situation, like we just if we was acting off of our emotions, we would actually be using mindfulness because we were calmed down more. We were like, you know, rationalize these things. So now let's talk about that. Let's talk about what rational mind is, and that's when you're actually thinking. You can actually think logically. You can actually rationalize the situation. You can be reasonable about what is actually happening, um, and your thoughts and behaviors might be like, all right, cool, it is what it is. Like you're not too emotional about the situation. You're trying to figure out how to solve the problem. Of course you might be a little upset, but in the sense of you being upset, you're like, you know what, I'm mad right now, but I'm going to figure out how to fix this issue, right? Think about like when you're studying for a test, right? Let me tell you, studying for a test is not easy, so like this is where you would use your rational mind because you're trying to figure out like the best study guide, like the best sources for studying, the best resources for studying, the best study plan. You're trying to rationalize, and like I said, you become stressful a lot of times when you're studying for tests because it's not easy, right? It's really not easy to study for a test. You have to be in a different state of mind in order to focus on studying for a test. You can't be sitting there upset about the fact that you got to take this test if you're in rational mind, right? um Rational mind, something where you're like planning for a vacation, right? You got to rationalize like, okay, where are we going? How much money do I want to spend? How many days I want to go here for? um you can use rational mind when cooking, right? I think about like when you're baking something, right? Because when you're baking, like I feel like you're using rational mind because you have to measure things out, right? Like when you're about to bake a cake, you have to like make sure like all the ingredients are like measured to the exact, because if not, then the cake ain't gonna come out the way it needs to be. It might be a little bit too lumpy, it might be too watery, whatever the case may be. That's so those are some of the examples of like rational mind, um wise mind. So now we're talking about wise mind. Okay, so wise mind is the point. That's where you use rational mind and emotional mind. That's like they both overlap, right? That's the part where reason and emotion and what makes you know that your mind, it's the part of what makes sense of your intuition. It's kind of like something where you're trying to figure out like, oh, okay, that's what it is. Like, okay, this is what I need to do. Instead of getting upset, instead of becoming angry, instead of like, being impulsive, you use like the fact that you're trying to rationalize the issue. So like, let's think of it like the solving problem mindset, and you're using the emotional mindset, and you're bringing those together to figure out what's the best decision to use based off of your intuition. Now, you want to make sure that your intuition is telling you the right thing. A lot of times our intuition tells us like whether we should or should not do something, right? Instead of acting off of impulsivity and emotions, our intuition will tell us like, listen, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Don't do that. You know, so that's the part that, we need to know. And that's the truth. That's the part of us that's the truth, right? It's where we know that something is true and it's valid. But the thing about wise mind is quiet. It's quiet. It's very quiet. And it has like a certain type of peace. It is where that something is centered in a way. But guess what? You will never know. You will never be able to experience wise mind if you don't practice mindfulness. And that's the main thing that I really want to stress here, is that in order for us to find wise mind, you have to practice mindfulness, because wise mind, it can be difficult to find. Everybody has it. Everybody has a wise mind. Just like everybody has emotion mind and everyone has rational mind, everyone has wise mind. But everyone doesn't have access to the wise mind. Even though you have it, you don't have access to it because you don't use the mindfulness skills, right? And so that's the key topic for today, is learning how to use the wise mind. What state of mind are you actually in on a daily basis? Are you in emotional mind? Are you in rational mind? A lot of people stay in rational mind, but then as soon as a situation arises, then you get into emotion mind, and we never actually unlock the key for wise mind because we don't access the skills of mindfulness. Okay, because like I said, wise mind is deep, it's sleep, it's quiet, and it's almost like it's hidden. It's like the trap door that's at the bottom of the well. You know what I mean? And you got to have the key in order to unlock that door. And the key to that is mindfulness, practicing mindfulness. Okay. And the thing about it is it can be different for each person, because there are certain ways that, people can experience it. You can find wise mind by simply just taking a step back from a situation, learning how to actually observe, right? Don't always react. Don't always react. You don't always have to like acts out of a situation or present something to you and you feel like you got to be the first to say something. You got to be the first to respond. You got to be the first to react. You don't have to do that. Try to like have a sense of the situation, step back, observe, process it. Do that first before you actually consider responding, before you consider reacting. Do that first. Sometimes it takes taking a breather, like breathe in, breathe out. A lot of times when we step into a situation, again, we want to react, we want to respond. But sometimes the best thing to do is just breathe in, breathe out, observe, you know. I think that like it's important to do those things so that you know how to actually respond to it and how to figure out like, okay, which way do I want to, which choice do I actually want to make? And that's what it's about. It's about making the right choice, right? Especially like when you're in a crisis. When you're in a crisis, like I think this is really, it's harder for people who are in a crisis, because when you are in a crisis, you start, you're experiencing that anxiety. You're experiencing all these different emotions and things like that. So it's harder for you to actually do, experience that wise mind and use the mindfulness. But this is the whole point of using the mindfulness skill, is so that when you are experiencing those difficulty emotions, that you can start using these skills, like the taking a step back, breathing in and out, trying to figure out what's the right choice to make. because if not, you're going to be making decisions off of emotions again. So the wise mind is like the calm that follows the storm, it's really something that follows the storm. So what you want to do is you want to practice that mindfulness, practice the mindfulness skill, and again, mindfulness is simply just doing something as simple as observing, you know describing, and participating in a situation. So what I think that the best thing for us to do, which is in order to tap into the wise mind, right? This is going to be the exercise that we do. And I want you to do this at least once a day, when you have that time. And it doesn't always have to be a situation where, oh my God, I just um left from a crazy situation, or I just got out of a argument with someone, or I feel overwhelmed. The thing about it is, I tell you, the best way to have access to wise mind is to actually use the mindfulness skill when you never needed it. See, that's the issue right there that I feel like everyone is struggling with, is they want to start using mindfulness when they're anxious and when they're struggling in difficult moments. The key to having access to wise mind is practicing mindfulness when you don't need it, when you don't need to, So for instance, one thing I could say is, let's say, a situation where uh you're doing something that you don't really need to do, but you're just doing it just to perfect the skill, just in case if a situation happened, you're prepared for it, right? I think about people who go to the gun range, right? I'm thinking about the gun range. Like, I'm thinking about the gun range because this is what my husband does. This he goes to the gun range. So, he's licensed obviously to carry. So he goes to the gun range to practice, shooting as a sport for him. It's a skill that he does on a weekly basis. And he does this just as it's just a sport for him. It's not like he's preparing for anything, but let's say people who go to the gun range, they practice these skills. They practice, shooting. They practice, different headshots and different, ranges and things like that. Not for anything in particular. They don't use it as a way for like, oh my God, I'm angry, so I'm gonna go to the gun range and shoot some guns. Like, no, some people don't do that. Some people just use this as a skill to keep perfecting themselves. And God forbid if there was ever an intruder or anything like that, they would know how to use, their weapon the right way. So that's how you want to think about it, right? When you're using mindfulness, when danger is coming your way, right? You want to perfect the skill. So therefore, when danger does come your way and somebody is breaking in your home and you got to protect yourself. And when I say your home, I'm talking about your mind. When your mind is being attacked by anxiety, depression, self-harming behaviors, intensive thoughts, intrusive thoughts, doubt, all of those things, you already have the weapon, which is mindfulness, to use to help you, because now you've been perfecting the skill over time every day. You already know how you have the skill to use to make sure that you can attack it, and it doesn't overcome you. It doesn't help you. It doesn't make you feel like you're all out of whack and you have those dysregulated emotions, right? So that's what I want everyone to do and that's the only way that you're going to have access to the wise mind, is perfecting this skill, using the skill on a daily basis, practicing the skill on a daily basis so that you don't feel like you don't have the tools. Okay. So what I want you to do is every day is set a clock, maybe like 5 minutes, maybe a minute, and just, I want you to take time with yourself and just sit with yourself and just you can even use some like meditating music, and just like for 5 minutes and just do a cool down and a reset. And I want you to breathe in and breathe out, and just whatever thoughts you're feeling, I want you to like just sit with those thoughts And whatever you are experiencing in that moment, think about it. Observe your thoughts, observe your emotions, and don't judge yourself for whatever it is that you're thinking. That's, that's what you want to do. You can even write these things down. The whole point is to keep practicing mindfulness. I want you to be present in the moment. You know, I want you to be present in the moment. And the whole point of doing this every day is to learn a pattern about the thoughts that you're having. Learn the pattern about the thoughts that you're having and the emotions that come with it. Be in the moment. Be in the moment. That's what wise mind is about. That's what mindfulness is about, is being present, being in the moment. And you have to keep practicing. Wise mind takes practice. You have to try to find a way to tap into that, and you can do it. I'm telling you. But the more practice that you do it, the more practice that you are and present in the moment, and focusing on what you're feeling and what those thoughts are, the more you will feel better about yourself, and you'll learn different patterns about your thought process, and you'll learn like, okay, this is what I'm feeling when this happens. So you want to write that down, and then you'll notice a pattern, and then you'll say, okay, this is something that I probably need to work on, or maybe I need to like address this, with my therapist, or maybe I need to address this with, if there's an issue with someone, I need to do that as well. So that's what I really want you to focus on. Like, understand what state of mind you are in on a daily basis. And if you feel like you're always struggling in the rational mind or the emotion mind, and you want to be more focused in the wise mind, I want you to take some time every day to, do mindfulness exercise, 5 minutes a day. And like I said, practice it. Practice makes perfect. So the more that you practice this, when those attacks come, you already know what to do. You already know how to, regulate your emotions. It doesn't take for, somebody that's cutting you off all the road. You already screaming and yelling at them, cussing at them. Instead, you don't do that. You might beep the horn and then you go around. There's just different ways of responding and reacting. So, and it takes for you to just like breathe in, breathe out, so you don't get flustered and frustrated because somebody just cut you off. You know what I mean? So let's practice that. Let's learn that. Let's understand like how to tap into the wise mind, and so we don't stay stuck. And, again, in order to get to the wise mind, you have to practice. You have to practice mindfulness. Okay. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this session. I hope that you're learning each Wednesday. I hope that you're learning something different. I'm going to bring another skill next week, another DBT skill that I'm telling you, I love DBT. So I'm going to bring another skill next week about DBT that we can learn and use just to kind of help us, like, when we are struggling in certain things with our thoughts and our emotions. Other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful Wellness Wednesday and enjoy the rest of